Think about the last time you wasted hours arguing with a fool, desperately trying to prove you were right. Did it actually change their mind, or did it just drain your energy and completely ruin your day? The Stoic philosopher Seneca warned that we waste the vast majority of our short lives engaging in pointless battles that simply do not matter. Arguing is a biological trap designed to keep you weak, emotional, and utterly distracted from building your own empire. Let's completely strip away your desperate need to be right and build the ultimate inner citadel of silence. Society constantly tells you that you must defend your honor, win every debate, and crush anyone who dares to disrespect your opinions. They lied to you. The elite thinkers and operators of history understand a terrifying psychological reality. The exact millisecond you begin to argue with someone who is completely committed to misunderstanding you, you willingly surrender your most valuable asset. You surrender your focus. Your focus is a finite, irreplaceable currency. Every ounce of energy directed at things we cannot actually influence is totally wasted. It is self-indulgent and highly self-destructive. When you yell, debate, and exhaust yourself trying to inject logic into a chaotic mind, you are not proving your dominance. You are publicly confessing that a deeply insecure fool has successfully hijacked your brain. You become a puppet dancing to the rhythm of their manufactured drama. If you do not master the ancient Stoic rule of absolute silence today, you will spend the rest of your life as a slave to the opinions of the crowd. By the end of this video, you will learn the exact philosophical framework that legendary generals and emperors used to mathematically destroy their enemies without speaking a single word. Shut this video off right now if you want to remain a fragile participant in other people's chaos, or stay here to learn the ancient art of untouchable, quiet dominance. Let's completely destroy your illusion of fighting back. How did emperors emphasize apathy? When you are insulted, your natural instinct is to push back. You want to match force with force. You believe that an immediate, aggressive verbal response proves to the room that you cannot be intimidated. But true power is not loud. True power is terrifyingly quiet. Look at the extraordinary composure of General Ulysses S. Grant. He was a man who understood that nerve and apathy were his ultimate weapons. Once, Grant sat for a photo shoot with the famous Civil War photographer Matthew Brady. The studio was too dark, so an assistant was sent up to the roof to uncover a skylight. Suddenly, the assistant slipped and completely shattered the window. Spectators watched in absolute horror as massive, lethal shards of glass, 2 inches long, fell from the ceiling like daggers, crashing down around Grant. When the dust settled, the photographer looked over and saw something impossible. Grant had not moved a single muscle. He was unhurt, and he simply glanced up at the hole in the ceiling, then stared back at the camera as though absolutely nothing had happened. During another campaign, a steamboat exploded right next to his headquarters. While everyone else hit the dirt in sheer panic, Grant was seen calmly running toward the scene of the explosion. That is nerve, that is the domestication of emotion. Grant refused to be rattled, rushed, or distracted by external noise. When you argue with a fool, you are flinching at the shattering glass. You are hitting the dirt because of a loud noise. Grant understood that his perception was the only thing he controlled. By offering zero emotional reaction to the chaos, he maintained absolute, undeniable authority over his environment. When faced with an aggressive opponent, you must realize that grace, poise, and serenity are not soft attributes. They are the ultimate forms of defiance. You are looking at the chaos and silently declaring, "I refuse to acknowledge that. I do not agree to be intimidated." What is the tactical advantage of silence? Why is this apathetic silence so strategically devastating? Because your enemies and critics are entirely reliant on your resistance. During World War II, the German military unleashed the Blitzkrieg, a lightning war. It was a massive, concentrated offensive designed to exploit the flinch of the enemy. Its entire success depended completely on the opposition collapsing in fear and returning fire in a predictable, chaotic manner. But General Dwight D. Eisenhower saw the fatal flaw in this massive attack. He realized that the Nazi strategy actually carried its own destruction within itself. By allowing a forward wedge of the army through and refusing to fight them head-on in a rigid line, the Allies bent instead of breaking. They let the enemy rush headfirst into a net, a meat grinder, encircling them completely. The invincible thrust of the enemy became suicidal. This is the exact tactical advantage of absolute silence. Fools, manipulators, and toxic individuals operate just like the Blitzkrieg. They launch aggressive, emotional attacks hoping you will meet them head-on. They want you to argue. They want you to defend yourself. Because the moment you push back, you give them a solid object to brace against. You give them momentum. When you deploy absolute silence, you remove the wall. You bend, but you do not break. You step aside and let their aggressive, chaotic energy rush right past you into a dark, empty void. The harder they yell, the faster they exhaust themselves. Without your reaction to feed on, their aggression collapses under its own weight. In martial arts, you do not push back against a heavier opponent. You pull them until they lose their balance, and then you make your move. Silence is the ultimate pull. It uses the actions of others against themselves. It forces the fool to sit alone in a quiet room with the echoing sound of their own stupidity. Why do your enemies need your reaction? To master this framework, you must understand a fundamental law of Stoic psychology, the difference between what is up to us and what is not up to us. The Greeks called it ta ephimen. You do not control other people's ignorance, their jealousy, or their desperate need for attention. Those are external factors, but your reaction, your decision to engage, is entirely up to you. Toxic people desperately need your reaction because it is a direct transfer of leverage. If an enemy can make you yell they own your emotional state, they become your master. Think of the first American astronauts training for the Apollo missions. They were trained in one skill more than any other, the art of not panicking. In space, panic is suicide. If they reacted to a warning light with a rush of emotional fear, they would override systems, disregard procedures, and die. John Glenn, the first American to orbit the Earth, spent nearly a day in space keeping his heart rate under 100 beats per minute. That is a man in complete control of his emotions. Your enemies want you to panic. They want you to break protocol. They want you to step down from your pedestal and fight in the mud. The ancient Greeks had a word for the ultimate defense against this, apathy. It is the calm equanimity that comes with the absence of irrational or extreme emotions. It is the clinical ability to look at a screaming fool and ask yourself, does getting upset provide me with more options? Does engaging in this argument advance my life? No. When you refuse to give them the reaction they crave, you starve them of oxygen. You prove that their words are nothing more than harmless sound waves traveling through the air. You mathematically demonstrate that they do not exist on your level. How to build an untouchable inner citadel? You cannot simply decide to be silent in the heat of the moment. If your mind is weak, your ego will always force your mouth open. To survive the modern world, you must build what the Stoics called the inner citadel. The inner citadel is a metaphysical fortress inside your mind that no external adversity, no toxic insult, and no chaotic event can ever break down. You are not born with this structure. It must be built and actively reinforced. During the good times, we strengthen ourselves so that during the difficult times, we can depend on it. Look at Theodore Roosevelt. Born frail, asthmatic, and weak, his life hung in a precarious balance. But he did not accept his disadvantages as permanent. He built a gym on his porch and worked out feverishly every single day for 5 years, slowly building muscle and literally working the weakness out of his body. He built his physical citadel to prepare for the strenuous life ahead. You must build your mental citadel with the exact same ruthless dedication. The brain is a muscle, and it is developed by tension, by lifting and holding back your impulses. You must train your observing eye instead of your perceiving eye. The 16th century samurai Miyamoto Musashi taught that the perceiving eye is weak because it sees insurmountable obstacles and takes insults personally. The observing eye is strong because it simply sees what is there. It sees a fool making noise, nothing more. When you build the inner citadel, you realize that arguing with a fool is an act of treason against your own soul. It is opening the heavy iron gates of your fortress and inviting the enemy inside. True power requires zero external validation. When you lock the gates of your mind, the insults and the drama of the outside world simply crash against the stone walls of your silence until they collapse into dust. You remain completely, terrifyingly untouched. What happens when you completely ignore them? There is a final, ultimate stage in this philosophy of power. It is not just tolerating the fools. It is not just enduring their desperate attempts to pull you down. It is actually being grateful for them. The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche defined greatness as amor fati, a love of fate. It is the discipline of wanting nothing to be different. You must learn to love the critics, the haters, and the fools, because every single one of them is providing you with a free daily training ground to test the strength of your inner citadel. They are testing your armor. When Thomas Edison was 67 years old, his massive research laboratory caught fire. Years of priceless records and prototypes were consumed by green and yellow flames. Edison did not weep or panic. He calmly walked to the fire and told his son to go get his mother, saying, "They'll never see a fire like this again." He told him, "It's all right, we've just got rid of a lot of rubbish." When you adopt the Stoic rule of absolute silence, you become like Edison watching the fire. You let the fools burn their own credibility to the ground. You let their anger consume their own reputation. You do not try to put the fire out with the water of your own logic. You simply step back and watch the rubbish destroy itself. The obstacle becomes the way. What impeded your action now advances your action. You have a choice right now. You can close this video and go back to being a reactive puppet. You can continue letting average people dictate your mood, endlessly arguing in comment sections, defending your fragile ego, and wasting your precious focus on battles that simply do not matter. Or you can lock the massive gates of your inner citadel. You can decide that from this exact second forward, your focus is strictly reserved for your own growth. You will never again explain yourself to a fool. You will smile at the noise. You will watch your enemies exhaust themselves against the impenetrable wall of your silence. Destroy your ego's desperate demand to have the last word, embrace the void, and the path to absolute, untouchable power is completely clear.